John Roberts.
Sarah, as you know, also on Wednesday, as the President heads to Ohio, James Comey is scheduled to testify before the Senate Intelligence Committee. And there's a question as to whether or not the White House will allow him to testify. Or
Thursday.
Did I say Wednesday?
Wasn't that nice
I'm
of
still
your
jet
colleagues to
lagged.
so politely correct you?
Yeah, sorry. On Thursday.
If only they had that same politeness when correcting us, huh?
He's scheduled to testify on Thursday. And there is a question as to whether or not you will invoke executive privilege or if you will allow him to testify. And I have a second question.
Sure. The President's power to exert executive privilege is very well established. However, in order to facilitate a swift and thorough examination of the facts sought by the Senate Intelligence Committee, President Trump will not assert executive privilege regarding James Comey's scheduled testimony.
I have a follow-up on that question. On the President's tweets regarding the travel ban, Kellyanne Conway's husband pointed out that such tweets are not helpful when it comes to the Solicitor General's ability to make an argument, an effective argument before the Supreme Court. Is the President concerned that he may be tainting the waters of the legal system by issuing such tweets?
Not at all. The President is very focused on exactly what that order spells out, and that's protecting Americans, protecting national security, and he has every constitutional authority to do that through that executive order, and he maintains that, and that position hasn't changed in the slightest. John?
Thank you, Sarah. Why is the President picking a fight with the mayor of London right after his city was hit by a terrorist attack?
I don't see that the President is picking a fight with the mayor of London at all. I think, again, the President's point is something he said, frankly, back, gosh, it's been almost 2 years now, a year and a half ago, when the President talked about how we have to be more committed to national security. One of the reasons we have the travel ban here through that executive order is a focus on national security. That was the point he was trying to make.
But the President is saying that the mayor said there's no reason to be alarmed by the terrorist attack. That is not what the mayor said. The mayor, in fact, said that the threat level remains severe, that the chances of another attack are highly likely. He was saying don't be alarmed by the armed police presence on the street. And the President directly misrepresented what the mayor of London said.
I don't think that's actually true. I think that the media wants to spin it that way, but I think that the President...
The mayor was saying there's no reason to be alarmed by an attack on a city? You think that's what he was saying?
Look, I think that the point is there is a reason to be alarmed. We have constant attacks going on, not just there, but across the globe, and we have to start putting national security and global security at an all-time high. President Trump has been very clear that's his priority, and he's not backing away from that. Steve?
Sarah, what was the President's reaction to the move by several Middle Eastern allies to sever ties with Qatar?
Look, the President's committed to continuing to have conversations with all of the people involved in that process, with all of those countries. We want to continue to de-escalate that, and at this point we're continuing to work with each of those partners.
Secondly, did the President get any word that this was going to happen when he was in Saudi Arabia a couple of weeks ago?
I'm not aware of that, but the State Department would probably be best suited to answer that question. Jim?
You just mentioned the word ban. The President, when he was tweeting earlier today, said people, the lawyers, and the courts can call it whatever they want, but I'm calling it what we need and what it is, a travel ban. But early on in the administration, when you were trying to justify, when this White House was trying to justify the executive order on extreme vetting and these travel restrictions, the White House was adamant that these were travel restrictions, that it was not a travel ban. Sean Spicer from that podium said it was not a travel ban. Is it a travel ban?
Look, I don't think the President cares what you call it. Whether you call it a ban, whether you call it a restriction, he cares that we call it national security and that we take steps to protect the people of this country. It's real simple. Everybody wants to get into the labels and the semantics of it, but the bottom line is he's trying to protect the citizens of this country. The danger is extremely clear, the law is very clear, and the need for this executive order is very clear, and the President's priority in protecting the people is very clear. Full stop.
And let me ask you to follow up on what John was asking about with respect to the mayor of London. There are going to be folks who are going to ask the question, was the President attacking the mayor of London because he's Muslim?
Not at all. And I think to suggest something like that is utterly ridiculous. Matthew?
Given the importance of Twitter...
Sorry, I said Matthew. That's okay. I'll go to you and then we'll come
All right,
back.
thank you. Given the importance of Twitter in the president's communication strategy. Can you tell us if his tweets are now being vetted by a lawyer or any other aid? And if not, why not? Or if so, when did that start?
Not that I'm aware of, but I think social media for the president is extremely important. It gives him the ability to speak directly to the people without the bias of the media filtering those types of communications. He's at this point has over 100+ million contacts through social media and all those platforms. I think it's a very important tool for him to be able to utilize. Matthew.
So I have a question about those executive order comments the president made this morning. He said that he wishes that his Justice Department had stuck with the original executive order. DOJ, of course, is part of the executive branch. If he wanted to stick with the original EO, why didn't he order the Department of Justice to stick with that? Why did he even sign the revised one if he wanted to stick with the original?
In the purpose, they were trying to meet the demands of the Ninth Circuit. But again, the president's been very clear. He wants to go as far and as strong as possible under the Constitution to protect the people in this country. That's what he felt the first executive order did. The second one was another version of that. But look, let's be really clear about what this is. These are 6 countries that were identified not just by this administration, but by the Obama administration and by Congress that are dangerous, they're unstable, they're volatile, and then frankly, they're not capable or unwilling to even vet people coming in or out. That's what this is about. Everybody wants to make it something different than national security issue, and that's exactly what it is, and that's why the president's so focused on pushing it forward in the strongest form possible.
But if it is that important as national security, and he believed the first one was safer and constitutional, then why did he sign the second one if now he's coming out today saying, oh, we never should have done the second one?
Well, he was looking to, again, match the demands laid out by the Ninth Circuit and for the purpose of expediency to start looking at the best way possible to move that process forward.
Sarah,
Allie?
I just want to clarify that. So does as it is currently written, given that he called it, as Matthew's pointing out, politically correct or water diversion, does the president support his own travel ban as it is currently written?
Absolutely. Again, he supports steps moving in the direction at all levels and forms possible. He wants the strongest executive order out there, and he wanted to move as quickly as possible, and that was the reason for that purpose.
Two questions. And the original intent of the travel ban was to provide a temporary pause in order to review immigration policies and procedures of those coming into the United States. That was January 21st, 22nd. It has been nearly 5 months since then. What progress has the administration made looking and vetting and doing some of that while this travel ban is working its way through the court system?
Extreme vetting is taking place, and that's something that's extremely important that was laid out in the memo. I think one other thing to... I'm sorry?
So specifically, though, what is the administration sort of working on when it comes to extreme vetting?
Look, I think that, if you want to get down into the details, I would refer you to the Department of Justice on some of those points. But one of the things I can tell you is that there are over 300 people that are under investigation that are part of this process, under investigation for terrorist-related activity in our system, and that's a large part of the vetting process that the president has stepped up.
And my last one for you, just mentioned that the president's tweets are, I think, a filter, essentially a way to get around the filter of the biased media when it comes to his tweets, that he sees them as an important way to get his message out. Just this morning, another top advisor in this White House said that the media was obsessed with the president's tweets, implying they didn't matter. So I guess just philosophically, which is it? Do the president's tweets matter, or are they just something that the media gets obsessed about?
I think that they matter in the sense that it gives him a communications tool, again, that isn't filtered through media bias, but at the same time I do think that the media obsesses over every period dot. As John was a perfect example earlier, he made a mistake. His colleague politely corrected him. If somebody from our administration had done the same, all hell would have broken loose, and it would be that, it's just total, chaos and conundrum here at the White House. So I think it's just the obsession over every detail of the president's tweets.
Presidential statements.
That come directly from the president's Twitter account? No. Jim?
So to follow up on the whole travel ban thing, the president also said this morning he'd like the Department of Justice to ask the Supreme Court for an expedited hearing. Has he done that? Has he asked the DOJ for an expedited hearing?
He has.
So he instructed them to instruct the Supreme Court.
He has asked for an expedited process. I can say that.
And then secondly, can you say on the ambassador, the U.S. ambassador to the UK, can you say why we don't have one yet? Is there a reason for the delay? Something in particular?
I'm not aware of that, and I'll have to check and get back to you on that. Sure, Major.
Sarah, following up on that last question, in addition to seeking the expedited process, the President said, so we can seek a much tougher version. Is a third version of the travel ban in the works?
Not that I'm aware of, but I know that, again,
Take from that presidential statement.
that the president's going to continue taking aggressive steps every single day to protect the people in this country. I don't think that there's...
Asked the DOJ to contemplate a tougher version.
I think he's asked the entire administration to look for ways we can defeat ISIS and to protect the American people. And if that's part of that process, it could be, but I don't know specifically if that's part of it.
And Sarah, from your vantage point then, based on the questions that Jonathan and Jim asked, what is the origin of this confusion or misunderstanding about what the president said about the mayor of London? Is the mayor of London's fault?
I'm sorry, I'm not following what you're asking.
The mayor of London and many there feel that the president not only took the comments that the mayor of London made out of context, but compounded an emotionally difficult experience for Londoners. Who's to blame for that? Are they misinterpreting the president, or did the president make a mistake?
Look, the president's been extremely clear that we stand in complete solidarity with the United Kingdom and protecting that relationship and that partnership, and we're fully committed to doing everything we can to help them in this process, and we condemn any act even similar to that. April?
Sarah, how is President not contradicting this administration when he tweets out travel ban in caps? And when you're talking about extreme vetting, how does he not contradict himself when he's trying to get this thing to go through the Supreme Court?
Look, again, I don't know how many times I have to answer this question today, but I'll try to do it one more time. I think that the president isn't concerned with what you call it. He's concerned with national security and protecting people in this country. Whether you call it a travel ban.
The Court says, I mean, he goes from one extreme to the next and it goes back to the first. And the Supreme
He's
Court...
not concerned with being politically correct. He's concerned with protecting the American people. I mean, that's the bottom line here. And, you know, he's going to take whatever step he can to move that agenda forward.
But does he believe this could be a loss from him, going for him and this administration with this extreme vetting or travel ban, going from travel ban to extreme vetting, back to travel ban on Twitter and extreme cabs?
I don't think he thinks any step he takes towards moving the ball forward in protecting the American people and implementing the executive order is ever going to be a mistake.
Last question, where's Sean?
I'm sorry?
Where is Sean?
He's here today.
Why didn't he come out?
This is part of my job as well. Did you guys ever ask any of the other deputy press secretaries when they filled in?
Position now?
I'm sorry?
Is he in a new position now, or you just...
I mean, he is taking on a little bit of extra duty at this point, so I think it's fairly...
Has his position changed then?
It's probably upgraded at this point, given that we don't have a communications director. I did not say that at all.
Can you
I'm
give us
still
a little
in for
more
today,
information?
April. There are a lot of demands on his schedule, particularly given the fact that there's not a communications director, and this is part of my job as well, and when I'm needed, I'll step in. Nothing other than that. See?
One of the major stories this morning in Washington suggested that, in fact, in Brussels, the president was given a draft of his speech to the NATO partners that suggested that he would invoke or at least respect the Article 5 commitments. The senior administration official told us flatly that the president himself did not take the Article 5 reference out of the speech. So, Sarah, who did?
I'm not aware of that, and I'd have to check back and let you know. Thanks, guys.